My name's Daniel, and for most of my life I've kept to myself on my ranch. My land was my pride. Miles of open fields, rolling hills, and the soft lowing of cattle in the mornings. I worked hard for it, and it was all I had after my wife passed away 3 years ago. The ranch gave me peace, and in a world full of noise, it was my sanctuary. But ever since the OA expanded into our rural community, things had changed. These city folks wanted neighborhood rules, in a place where people had lived freely for generations. They tried to tell me how tall my grass should be, where I could park my tractor, and even complained about the smell of my cows. And leading the charge was Karen. Loud, bossy, and always convinced she was right. She wasn't just a nuisance. She was a storm in a human body. Every meeting ended with her yelling. Every note she left on my gate was another reminder that she hated my independence. Still, I ignored her. I thought she'd eventually move on. But I was wrong. One Friday evening, I noticed trucks and cars lining up along the road outside my ranch. At first, I figured it was a wedding or a festival in town, but then I saw them. Hundreds of people walking right through my gate, carrying tents, coolers, and firewood. They acted like my land was theirs. I rushed down to the gate and stopped one group. "Excuse me? What do you think you're doing on my property?" I demanded. "Oh, we're here for the community camping weekend," a woman said cheerfully, waving a flyer. "Camping weekend?" I repeated, confused. She nodded. "Karen told us this was all arranged." She said the land was open for everyone. "Looks beautiful out here." My chest burned with anger. Karen had spread word that my land was a campground. For free. I stormed over to her house, which sat across the road, and there she was, sipping lemonade on her porch like a queen surveying her kingdom. "Karen! What the hell is going on?" I shouted. She smiled sweetly. "Oh, Daniel, don't be so dramatic. This land shouldn't be wasted on cows. People need fresh air, and I promised them an unforgettable weekend. Be a good neighbor, won't you?" Unforgettable. You invited 1,000 strangers onto my property without asking me. Well, she smirked. Technically, the HOA has rights to common land usage. This isn't common land, I snapped. This is MY land. Paid for with MY money. She just rolled her eyes and waved me off. By nightfall, my pasture was crawling with campers. Fires burned dangerously close to the fences. Kids chased my calves. Drunk men shouted and played loud music. I couldn't sleep. I stood at my window, watching strangers trample over everything I had built. I tried calling the sheriff, but they were swamped with complaints from town. "We'll send someone when we can," they told me. But nobody came. That night, I sat on my porch, clenching my fists. My wife always told me to choose peace, but this wasn't peace. This was a violation. And when the morning came, I knew I had to make a choice. Let Karen and her mob run me into the ground, or take back what was mine. By sunrise, the scene was worse than I imagined. Trash littered the fields. Someone had spray painted one of my barns. My cattle were spooked, crowded in a corner, because drunk teenagers thought it was fun to throw rocks at them. That was the last straw. I marched straight into the camp. "Everybody out! This is private property! You've got 1 hour to clear out before I call the law," I yelled. But instead of packing up, they laughed. One man shouted, "Karen said you're just being greedy!" "You've got all this land, and you won't share. What's wrong with you?" I looked around at the 1,000 strangers destroying everything I loved. Karen stood smugly in the crowd, arms crossed, waiting for me to back down. That's when I made my decision. I walked to the bullpen at the edge of the pasture. My 3 bulls, Thunder, Brick, and Old Red, stood there, powerful and restless. They were gentle with me, but no stranger could handle their strength. They'd been bred for rodeos, and they didn't take kindly to chaos. I opened the gates. The ground shook as they thundered into the field, snorting, pawing the dirt, their horns glinting in the morning sun. At first, the crowd cheered, thinking it was entertainment. But the moment the bulls charged, panic broke out. Tents toppled. Coolers spilled. People screamed as the bulls ran through the open spaces, scattering everyone. RVs peeled out of the field so fast they tore up the grass. Kids cried, parents shrieked, and within minutes, the 1,000-strong mob was stampeding for the exits. And Karen. Oh, Karen. She stood frozen, her lemonade glass slipping from her hand. When thunder snorted and stomped toward her, she finally screamed louder than anyone else and bolted faster than I'd ever seen her move. By noon, the land was empty. The trash was still there, the damage was real, but the people were gone, and for the first time in days, silence returned to my ranch. Later that week, the sheriff finally showed up. After hearing the full story and seeing the damage, he shook his head. Karen's finished. The HOA doesn't own your land. She'll face charges for trespassing and property destruction. I stood there, exhausted but relieved. Neighbors came by to shake my hand. Even people who never talked to me before said, "You stood up for all of us." Turns out, Karen had been bullying everyone. Just nobody had dared stop her. That night, I sat on the porch again. The stars were bright, and the bulls rested calmly in the pasture. My wife's words echoed in my mind. Choose peace. And I realized, sometimes peace doesn't mean being silent. Sometimes peace means standing firm, protecting what you love, and reminding people that boundaries matter. Karen never bothered me again. And every time I hear my bulls snort in the morning, I smile. Because they gave me back my land, my dignity, and my peace. Moral T, inspiring message for viewers. No matter how loud the bullies in your life get, never forget, you have every right to protect what's yours. Boundaries matter, respect matters, and sometimes courage means standing up when no one else will.